Hello everyone, I'm Nitsa Hone. Welcome to Kaladesh Limited Review Week on my channel. Every time a new set comes out, I post a limited review video every day from the day it is spoiled, which was earlier today, until the pre-release, which is next Friday. In these videos, I talk about my initial impressions about the format. After I cover the best commons and uncommons in each color, and in artifacts this time around, I will also be posting an archetype guide and a few other videos, so stay tuned. Let's get started by talking about the three best commons and uncommons in white in Kaladesh. We'll begin with uncommons. The uncommon slot is so stacked in white that I actually have an honorable mention. As an honorable mention, I have Sky Whaler's Shot. This thing is pretty good, but unlike all the other three uncommons on this list, I could not see myself first picking it, which tells you that white is pretty stacked. It is better than the Kill Big Creature conditional removal we have seen lately, since much of that targeted creatures with 4 or greater power. By dropping down to 3 or greater, this gets a lot more powerful because it can target many more creatures. On top of that, it also lets you scry. This is a card you probably want one of in every white deck you make, ideally, but it does get worse in multiples since it can't target everything. So let's move to our top 3 uncommons. As I mentioned, I think these are all first pickable. At number 3, I have Visionary Augmenter. This thing is pretty powerful. For 4 mana, you either get a 4-3, which admittedly isn't the best rate, or you get a 2-1 and 2-1-1 servo tokens. The latter is what you're going to want to do most of the time. There are payoffs in the set for having artifacts and for going wide, and for having +1/+1 counters. So this card also fits into a ton of decks, and if you're in a deck that does one or all of these things, it gets even better. But even in a vacuum, it's a very powerful card. At number 2, I have Aerial Responder. The Responder is kind of a white vampire Nighthawk, and is probably one of the best uncommon creatures in the format, simply because if you can drop him on turn 3 and your opponent has no answer, they will find themselves quickly behind. There aren't many uncommons or commons in a format that are that powerful. On top of that, this is a format with a +1/+1 counters as a bit of a sub-theme, and once you start putting those on him, he becomes even scarier. At number 1, I have Fairgrounds Warden. Anytime a creature is printed with an Oblivion Ring effect, it is pretty good. Unconditional removal is one of the most powerful things you can do in Limited. He does have the downside, though, of giving back whatever creature you exiled when he dies, but at least he has 3 toughness, making him a bit sturdier than some versions of this effect we've seen in the past. That does it for uncommons. Let's move ahead to the top 3 white commons in Kaladesh. At number 3, I have Impeccable Timing. It might be conditional removal, but it's pretty efficient, and it is a little bit less conditional than some of the white conditional spells we've seen lately. This card can target any attacking or blocking creature, so you can use it in conjunction with combat damage to kill something like more mediocre cards like Puncturing Light just couldn't do. You probably don't really want more than one Impeccable Timing in most decks, but I think you feel pretty good about the first one most of the time. At number 2, I have Glint Sleeve Artisan. 3 mana for a 3/3 is a good rate, especially for white, and 3 mana for a 2/2 and a 1/1 servo token is great. It is reminiscent of Scion Summoner from Oath of the Gatewatch, and that is a pretty good comparison, as that was a very strong common. As I mentioned earlier about servo tokens, going wide and caring about artifacts and caring about +1/+1 counters all matter, and so if you're in a deck that does any of those things, Glint Sleeve Artisan gets even better, but he's also just good in any deck. At number 1, we have Revoke Privileges, the kind of card that's always basically white's best common. They always get a sort of pacifism effect, and here they're given another good one of those. For 3 mana, you can make it so a creature can't attack or block or crew vehicles, and that's pretty relevant. The pacifism effects are going to be worse in a format like this one because you can still crew vehicles with them, but this makes sure that they can't do that, and that's a pretty good effect. It's just very strong, first pickable. Glint Sleeve Artisan, I think, also first pickable some of the time. Impeccable Timing, never first pickable, but a fine card. So that does it for my picks for the top commons and uncommons in white for Kaladesh Limited. If you haven't already, don't forget to enter my Kaladesh giveaway. There should be an annotation for you to click on now. Tomorrow, I will continue with the best commons and uncommons in blue. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to click the like button. If you disagree with any of my picks or want to know more about my thoughts on the format, post in the comments. And if you want to make sure you don't miss any limited review videos for Kaladesh and for future sets, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.